were only on the island for an hour and a half. I took a dive into shallow water, which is only 3 feet deep. I thought it was around 7 feet deep because in the Bahamas, the clear water gets magnified by the sun, so it looks a whole lot deeper. And I dove in the ocean like I did thousands of times before, but this time 3 feet deep, pushed my head into my neck, broke my C6, which is my sixth vertebrae, and I became a quadriplegic. I was dead for clinically dead for 2.5 minutes, and broke my neck into 36 pieces. And that's, believe it or not, I see your reaction. I get that all the time. It was one of the best days of my life. And I know that surprises most people, that is the follow-up to that comment, but one of the best days of my life. Didn't know it at the time, but it definitely is. You're going to tell me I can't live alone. You're going to tell me I'm a quadriplegic. You're going to tell me I can't do much. Well, all right.
Watch me,
right? And the same thing, even if I fast forward now to racing, right? Like there have been groups that have said I can't race with them. All right, fine. Like, watch me. Want me to destroy you? I will. And you're going to feel really bad about yourself. So I use that as fuel to, you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to try and find a way to do it better. We also have a t-shirt that says we're all equal on the starting line, which that's what I want. I want equality on the starting line. I want to be seen as equal, but then I want to destroy you, right? And so when I see what other people have hesitation, when I see that they are trying to fight for something, I just say, don't stop fighting. Because if it's easy, you don't deserve it, right? Then you haven't tried. Only things you try for, you deserve. And that sounds really harsh. I don't mean that to come off as angry as that might sound, but you need to push yourself. So I would look at everybody and say, try. Hi, I'm Torsten Gross. This is Parts and Culture with Jason Stein.
It's a pleasure to have my next guest on the program. He's doing remarkable things, and now everybody gets the chance to see it. July 31st, Amazon Prime released Just Hands for the Love of Racing. Pleasure to have you on the program, Torsten.
Thanks so much for having me, Jason. I appreciate it.
Well, I guess it's obvious, but now that it's out, can you believe where you are in terms of the world knowing your story? And I say obvious because it's obviously a situation that you could have never dreamed of, I'm guessing.
Had you told me 3 years ago that I would have a show on Prime, had you told me 4 years ago that it would be racing Porsches, we would have had a good chuckle together. We definitely would have laughed hard.
So did your phone just ring nonstop? Were you getting blown up all over the place with people going, my God, it's out? Did you have a big release party?
We had a great release party. We had one here in Canaan, Connecticut, which is right outside Lime Rock Park, the track in the Northeast, which is my home track. And it was pouring rain, and we had standing room only. So wow. It was amazing. The outpouring of not even support, just the outpouring of love has been humbling, has been, I wish I could tell you a word, Jason. I don't have a word, but it's been surreal in the best way possible.
What's the journey been like to get here for you?
How far back do you want me to go?
Let's go back to being a teenager. Let's tell your story. The dramatic turn that took place.
Yeah. So when I was 15, kind of normal childhood, growing up in right outside of New York City, and as we were moving to Germany, my father had already moved over there. My mother and I did a trip to the Bahamas, and I decided we were only on the island for an hour and a half. I took a dive into shallow water, which is only 3 feet deep. I thought it was around 7 feet deep because in the Bahamas, the clear water gets magnified by the sun, so it looks a whole lot deeper. And I dove in the ocean like I did thousands of times before, but this time 3 feet deep, pushed my head into my neck, broke my C6, which is my sixth vertebrae, and I became a quadriplegic. I was dead for clinically dead for 2.5 minutes, and broke my neck into 36 pieces. And that's, believe it or not, I see your reaction. I get that all the time. It was one of the best days of my life. And I know that surprises most people, that is the follow-up to that comment, but it's one of the best days of my life. Didn't know it at the time, but it definitely is.
One of the best days of your life.
Yeah.
Why? How?
I could be specific and say, because I was able to do this, this, and this. But the reality, I feel like everybody's got a wheelchair. And what I mean by that is if you have depression, if you have PTSD, if you've lost a child, if you had a bad upbringing or breakup, if you have Tourette's, whatever it is, we all have that thing that holds us back. And so mine is visible, right? My thing is visible, but depression is not visible. Tourette's is not visible, right? All that. We all have that thing. So I tend to get the head cock and the awe, right? Because I have a day that changed my life, but everybody's got their wheelchair, right? And so mine allowed me, I wasn't the best kid growing up. I wasn't the easiest to rear, and I wasn't great. And so I don't want to say it shaped me up, but it gave me purpose. And it's not a purpose that I knew about from the beginning. It's something that I kind of like lived into, grew into, but I have a great life, Jason. I have an insanely amazing wife. I have, life work-wise has been, I couldn't ask for anything more. And now I get to race Porsches in an Amazon Prime show. I mean, if anyone right now is crying after that story, I'm going to ask you to reevaluate your priorities. I can't walk up steps. I have people to help me up them. There are certain things that challenge me, but at the end of the day, I've got great friends, great partners, a great life. So I wouldn't change it.
The event itself that you talked about, I would venture to say that listening to you, it ignited a relentless drive in you. Is that right?
So my wife came up with this insight, and it's actually fascinating. From birth on, I'm somebody who wants to rebel. And that sounds obvious as a youth, right? In your youth, where I grew up in Greenwich and in Bronxville, like not rich, but well-to-do, did okay. I was expected to be good. I was expected to get good grades. I was expected to go to a good school. Expected is the word here, right? And I rebelled against that. I think I would even go as far as say I tried to get bad grades. I tried to do bad, right? But that's youth. But then when I had my accident as a quadriplegic, quads will never be paraplegics, right? Well, we don't have finger function, right? They have finger function. And the joke I always say is dead people want to be quadriplegic want to be paraplegic want to walk, walking people want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold Schwarzenegger wants to be God, right? Like there's always that level above you that you have. And so I'm going to say rebellious attitude was more, you're going to tell me I can't live alone. You're going to tell me I'm a quadriplegic. You're going to tell me I can't do much. Well, all right. Watch me, right? And the same thing, even if I fast forward now to racing, right? Like there have been groups that have said I can't race with them. All right, fine. Like watch me. Want me to destroy you? I will, and you're going to feel really bad about yourself. So I use that as fuel to you tell me I can't do it. I'm going to try and find a way to do it better.
Yeah, amazing. The passion for vehicles, and you've talked a couple times here now about cars and speed. Was it always there for you?
That's the funny part about this, Jason.
You're not really a car guy, are you?
I found out 2 years ago what a radiator is. Yeah. And everybody laughs about that, but I never had a dad that loved cars. I never had friends that turned wrenches, right? So I never really knew about cars. However, because of my relationship with certain brands, I'm not going to tell you how many times I've been pulled over, but just think of that number and then multiply by 4. I've been pulled over a lot. And so I've always had a penchant for speed, but I never really, race car driving really wasn't my thing, especially in a wheelchair, because if you can't see it, you can't be it. And Robbie Robbie Wickens, the pro driver, the IMSA driver, he's new to the scene, right? In air quotes, new to the scene. I've been in the chair 31 years. He wasn't a thing, right? As I was growing up, I never knew I could be this. So you can't, it's destructive I think it can be destructive to dream something that you just can't ever be, no matter how much you try, right? And cars was never really my thing. I then had other things. So I love them. I love owning them. I've got some nice cars, but I just never thought I'd be a race car driver.
And your wonderful wife, who you just referenced, she does something for you back 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago. She says, and it was on your anniversary. Is that right?
Indeed, it was.
Yeah. She takes you out to the track that's nearby, Lime Rock. We've had Dickie Regal on the program. Yeah.
Yes.
And what happened at Lime Rock in 2021?
Well, we were out to dinner, and she hands me a gift certificate and says, "I got you a track day at Lime Rock Park." And small side note, Jason, in return, I handed her motorcycle lessons.
Oh.
Right. So okay. We were very much on the same page. And I think after that, it was, is our life insurance policy up to date? Because we both are about to do something stupid. Either that or do we want to kill each other? But she had said, look, we had just moved. We had this as a weekend house up here near Lime Rock. We were Manhattanites, for 20 plus years. And then when we moved here full time, we then started uncovering this thing called Lime Rock. And I never even thought about it when my wife was like, well, look, if you're going to drive that fast, let's make this legal, shall we? And she got me a track day. And I will tell you, from that day on, I blame this addiction on her. Without her having done this, I would not be spending this amount of money to continue race car driving. So it's kind of her fault, right? I think it's her fault.
But no, it is. But on lap 16 of that day, you had brake failure going into a turn, right?
And I had very spongy brakes. It was a non-track prepared Audi A6, and it was an interesting moment going through turn 1 and 2. But we made it, and Don, the instructor, always knew that we would make it, right? Like in your first time out, they don't let you go full send.
Right.
But so we were never really in a super dangerous position, right? And now as an instructor, I would never let somebody get into that position either. But as somebody new, when that happens, and you get spongy brakes, things get scary. And I think Don thought that I was going to get into the paddock and go, I'm never doing this again. But I took off my helmet and I looked at him and I said, I need to buy a race car.
Yeah.
Then
you knew. You knew it was on at that point. So what happens next? I mean, now all of a sudden you're doing sub 1 minute lap times at Lime Rock on street tires. And, you were getting good at that point. You spent the last few years getting good, right? The passion was there.
The passion was there because the moment that I came into that paddock with Don, with the instructor after that had happened, his question was, why? You thought we were about to have a little bit of an incident. Why do you say you need a race car? And I was like, well, it's the only sport on the planet that makes me feel equal to able-bodied people. So no one on the track knew that I was in a wheelchair. The car didn't care that I was in a wheelchair. That's a profound moment. And I needed to keep that going. I needed to feel that. So I went home and I said, baby, we're buying a race car. And she just kind of smiled and was like, okay. And that's how the adventure began. I think I've spent in my first year over 40 days at Lime Rock.
Wow.
Which is a lot, if anyone drives track driving, you'll know that is a very high number. I think it was 40 days in the first year. That's how much I needed to do it.
And you're getting good.
Good is so contextual to the people you're on track with, right?
Yeah, true enough. Who are your competitors?
It's always that. And I get humbled so quickly, I go, I'm good. And then I go, oh, Jesus, that's good. Like, that's not me. That's good. I'll say this. I think I'm doing better than the average bear that's only been doing this for 3.5 to 4 years. I'm very fortunate to get good at it.
Your passion caught the attention of Amazon, and all of a sudden there was a film crew that was capturing your path on this series. How did that all come about?
Yeah. So I was chatting with Pennzoil, who I'm a brand ambassador for, and who I had done some commercials with, and who I'd worked with, and I'd said, the car world is a very machismo world. It's very, you got to know everything about cars. And I'm not that guy, right? As I said, I just found out what a radiator is. And there's a big group of people like me that exist. And we should be talking to them. And that was kind of a conversation, back and forth with them. And I said, by the way, I'm starting racing. And do you want to capture that? And why I thought it was an interesting moment to capture is you have a lot of stories, a lot of docuseries about car racers that got hurt and now have a comeback story, a la Robbie Wickens or Sam Schmidt.
Right.
Or you've got docuseries about guys that are already either at the top of their game or, the best in the world. Docuseries, great. But I don't know of a docuseries that exists that shows somebody who was in his early 40s that started, haven't been karting since I was 7 years old, or, racing since I was 13, that just wanted to get in it, that now wants to start racing and has no idea what he's doing. I said, well, wouldn't that be interesting? Because I want to motivate people that not just look like me in wheelchairs, but just in general want to get into the car world and are so intimidated by it. I'm willing to look like a jackass and go, I don't know anything about this. I need help and all that. Because it's funny, car racing, Jason, feels like a singular sport.
Yeah. Until
you realize how many people are involved in that single driver's experience. And once you admit, well, in my case, I don't know what a radiator is. Once you admit, I don't know X, Y, Z, I need help. The amount of people that come help and support you and lift you up is so beautiful.
Yeah. Such a community, isn't it?
It's such a community, right?
It's a small community. Yeah. Very warm, very welcome, very intrusive.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll push their way in to help you and go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And it was that love that I felt really fast, where I went, all right, well, let's document this. And that's how we got here, which again, wow. Weird, but wow.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And episode 1, you're behind the wheel of that adapted Porsche taking on Watkins Glen. Episode 2 is at VIR, Virginia International Raceway. And then you're Florida in the 24 hours at Daytona in episode 3. And then finally, Circuit of Americas. What have you learned? Two different questions. What have you learned about racing? What have you learned about yourself during all this?
Oh, I'm going to start with the racing question first. That's easier.
Mm-hmm.
The racing part of things is, there's so many things going in my mind. I'll just give you one. And that is, cars look similar, but from the outside, but from the inside, if a driver were to get into my car, or if I were to get in their car, how vastly different cars actually are based on the driver's preferences. And you can't just say, I've got a great car and the car goes fast. A Miata can destroy a Ferrari if the driver is good, right? In the Miata.
Yep.
And how you set up the car. I didn't understand how preferential cars are, right? How different cars are. So that would be a huge learning for me about what your preferences are and how different they are, even though they look the same. About me, I think I've always had this to a degree, but it's definitely amplified here. And that is how, well, you asked the question, so I don't mean to be arrogant about it, but I've learned how good I am at failure and accepting failure. And I think we as a society, we villainize failure. And you see that by, if somebody wins, they're like, I won, period. If they lose, they give you an hour dissertation about why they lost, right? And that's because we're so nervous about failure. We're so embarrassed by failure. And I'm really good at going, you know what? I failed. great, let's move on. Let's
Yep.
use that as a learning moment. I found that out very quickly about myself, and I'm proud that I get to say that.
Hmm. And what have you learned about inspiring others? Because that's the path here. That's exactly what you want to do, as you said earlier. And just go back to the launch of the show and the packed room and everything. I mean, you clearly along the way have discovered that you can be an inspiration for so many, I'm sure.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I like to spin the word to motivation, because inspiration has a interesting connotation, which I can take you through if you're interested.
Yeah.
But so to me, in the disabled community, the word inspiration comes up a lot, and it's always one of those things where if I go to work, I've been told that I'm inspirational, and that becomes a little bit, I guess, annoying, because it means that if you and I both get to the same level, I'm still inspirational because society puts me lower than you to begin with. So I've overcome more things, and therefore I'm inspirational.
Okay.
I don't want to be seen as less than, right? No
That's
matter
fair.
what
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
But motivational is great, right? Because motivation means go do the thing you want to do. I don't care if it's with cars. I don't care if it's with bikes. I don't care if it's with reading. I want to motivate somebody to go, I didn't think I could do that. I want to now go do that. And so I try really hard to find the thing that people love to do and see, how do we make that happen? How do we make it better? How do we make you excited to go do it? The thing that you dreamed of doing that you keep saying no about. Stop saying no and let's figure it out. And to me, one of the biggest things I always say is let's set failure as an objective. Because if you fail, you will always succeed when you try the thing. And I say that because the anticipation of the thing, in air quotes, is always way worse than the thing itself, right? You're always up until 3 a.m. worried about the thing. And then you get there and you're like, that was easy. But boy, were you worried, right? So I have a bracelet that says courage over confidence. And this is by a sports psychologist named Mitch. And Mitch, when I met him and he gave this to me, I love that he simplified it, because to me, I'd always said, courage or confidence comes on the other side of trying. How can you be confident about something if you haven't tried it? So I'm like, are you confident about it? No. Good. But do you have courage to go do it? Yes. If you set failure as your goal, you will have done it, and that will give you the confidence to do it again. So I try really hard to say to people, if you make failure your goal, you will succeed, and then you will find out how easy that actually was. And then go on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's a great philosophy on life. Yeah.
Especially car racing, because again, there's this, and even track driving, not just car racing, anything having to do with cars, because you can take your own personal car onto a track for an HPDE day, a high performance driver education day. And there are people out there with 1984 Chevy Caprices, right? And old school Volvos. They're having just as much fun as everybody else. They have the courage to go do that. And I love seeing that. Man, do I give them high fives, because you don't need to have a fast car. You don't need to have a race car. You don't need to have a track car. Just go try it.
Yeah. Motivational. There's a moment in the series where you broke your femur and punctured a lung.
Yep.
In a crash at the track. Some might have stopped the cameras from rolling. You insisted the cameras stay on all the way up to the operating room because you wanted the journey to be real, right? Tell us about that.
When they were rolling into the ER, I said, wait, somebody's got to give me my phone. And they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is real, right? So I filmed all the way in, because look, there are 2 types of race car drivers, ones that have crashed and ones that will. And I'm now one that have crashed, but it's a real story. If you sign up for a docuseries, if you sign up for something that's about you, why hide that from people?
Right.
That's so criminal, to hide reality. And unfortunately, sometimes to my wife, I'm too public and too honest publicly. But if you open yourself up publicly, then it's amazing how many people come out of the woodworks and they want to talk to you and you get to motivate them. I showed that. Look, we were training for my first race a week later, and I was practicing going 3 wide into Big Bend. I didn't realize how dirty it was on the outside, and 100% my fault. And I paid the consequences for that. You know, it has its moments, but as my wife has said before, you know, that it could have been way worse. And it wasn't. And so I wanted to be back in the car right away. I actually had on my calendar the date that my leg would heal, the date that my lung would heal, and the date that my ribs would heal. And I had countdowns just so I can get back in the car again.
But you were in the ER, and after the crash, you said, "I'll stop racing," and she stopped you, didn't she?
She did. I said, "Baby, I promise I won't do this again. Sorry for doing stupid stuff." And she actually said, and I'm paraphrasing, she was like, no, hold on. First off, I'm hopped up on adrenaline. So she's like, "You're not making the right decisions, period, anyway, at this moment. So let's talk about it." She brought it up the next day, and she said, again, this I'm condensing a longer conversation, right? But her response was, "You love doing this. You're good at doing this. It would be criminal for you not to do this anymore. Why stop?"
Yeah.
You know, and I'll say she is everything to me. I hope that I'm everything to her, but we are very supportive of each other's, let's say, addictions, you know, because we all do stupid stuff. When I was doing the diving stuff and the marathon stuff, so I'm the world's only quadriplegic that's a rescue scuba diver. I did 12 marathons in 12 months. Like every time I take on a stupid project like that, you know, she just rolls her eyes. But I have to say she does the same thing, right? She does her own projects like that too. And we're just very supportive. To be in the emergency room, she stuck by me, Jason, the whole time. They had to kick her out of the room a couple times. She was next to me the whole time, and she was supportive. She had said, "Whatever you need to do, keep doing it." And I think if you find a partner like me to her as well, when you see something you love, when you're passionate about it, you need to support that in the other person.
Yeah. What a gift. What a gift.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Just Hands Foundation. Tell me a little bit about it. What does it do, and why is it important to you? Why is it vital?
So it's vital because a passion isn't something you should just do yourself, but you're obliged to share it with others. And only 3 months after I started track driving, I went home and I said, "Baby, we're buying another track car." She said, "No." And I said, "Baby, this one's not for me to drive, it's for others." And she was like, "Well, then definitely no." But I have been so fortunate, Jason, that in my life, I've had foundations and people help me get into wheelchair racing or marathoning or skiing or diving, whatever it is. They've been there to help. I am humbled. I am grateful. I am all the words that I get to be in a position now where I get to help other people. And I wanted other people to feel what I get to feel. And before I talk about the foundation, there's something that I've termed the disability tax. And what that is if you want to go do a marathon, you buy $80 shoes, you walk out your front door, you start training. We have to buy a $3,000 marathon chair. If you want to go skiing, $120 season rental, you go, and then you start go skiing. We buy a $4,000 mono ski, right? Everything for us. You want to play basketball, you buy $80 basketball, go to a public court, go play. We buy a $4,000 basketball chair. There's a disability tax to get into our sports. It's always a little bit bigger, and that just multiplies itself inside motorsports. So I felt the need to say, well, I need to offer this to other people. So I bought a really cheap, crappy, 328 BMW that was so old and was breaking down all the time. And I started Just Hands Foundation. And luckily, we've moved on from that car. But the Just Hands Foundation gets people who are in chairs behind the wheel of track cars. And whether that is for people who can't do it, ride-alongs with me, to autocross, which is learning your car, balancing your car, learning the limits of your car in a non-risk environment, all the way to HPDE, which is high performance driver education, which is getting you on a big track with an instructor, all using our cars, not your own. And that is what we started with Just Hands Foundation.
Amazing. You talked about Pennzoil earlier, and I know you've been overwhelmed with the way that they've allowed you to be you in a lot of ways. And also, I know maybe done things a little more unconventionally. In other words, they've not only championed the project, but they see you as a race car driver who wants to do all of the things that you've just said. Tell me a little about Pennzoil and Pennzoil's support of you.
First of all, I love that you picked up on that. That it means a lot that you picked up on what you just said, because not everyone sees that and hears that and knows that. And for the audience, I'll elaborate on what you picked up on. And that is, disability tends to be a token at time. It's always a little kid in the wheelchair being pushed by their mom in the back of a commercial. I'll checkbox, right? We're now about disability, great. But there's a difference between, at least for me, being a race car driver that's in a wheelchair versus a guy in a wheelchair that's a race car driver. The nuance of that is so small, but it's actually huge in execution. They never used me as a token guy in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
They always treated me as a guy in a wheelchair, a race car driver that uses his hands to drive. And that is part of my story. Let's lean into that. I think it's great. We should highlight that. But if it becomes this pity, sad sack type of creative type of message, I don't like that, right? They never treated me that way, right? It has always been race car driver that loves to drive, that has a passion for driving. And let's communicate about that. So we've done cool things like, Joey Logano is also Pennzoil, obviously. And
Right.
I got to teach him how to use hand controls, how to drive. That was a ton of fun. They are a huge supporter of the foundation, so much so that our colors started off as orange and white and black. Nope. We are now black and yellow because of them. My car, black and yellow because of them. That's how much it means to me. And they have always, sounds so corny, but always treated me as a friend, never a marketing gimmick. And that's, as somebody who's been in the marketing world and left the marketing world, I can tell you that doesn't happen very often.
No, I know you're right. Yeah. You just mentioned the marketing world. You have to have a certain mindset to be in the corporate world, to be in corporate life, and you've been a CMO. How does your motorsports mindset differ, or how is it similar to what you do in a corporate world? This is on business radio, Business Channel 132.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I'll say this from a charity perspective. So there's Torsten Gross, there's Just Hands Motorsports, which is me. I don't take any money from the foundation. Then there's Just Hands Foundation, right? So we'll split the two. But the way I see it is, if anybody gives us anything, they need to get something in return, even if it's a donation. And I need to love it. I need to love them. I need to love their mission. And if you see the world as, what can you do for me authentically, then I can create content, I can work with them, I can help them, right? And it's this back and forth partnership. So, people will donate money to the foundation. I'll go, thank you. You're about to get X, Y, Z. I want to give this back to you, right? Whether it's content, whether it's experiences, whatever, we always give back in return too. And I see this is business. It's an expensive sport. And I want to be able to highlight the great players, Pennzoil being one, Volkswagen, that I'm brand ambassador, is another one, Weigel and Mobility Innovations, which do hand controls, is another. It's not just about taking, it's about giving back to them as well. And I'll do anything I can to give back to these guys.
Volkswagen's driver access program echoes many of your missions, the ethos behind what you do. How does your story help spark change beyond the track through Volkswagen?
That's a very astute and very good question, Jason. A lot of brands, and I'll give Pennzoil this credit too, are scared to bring somebody in a wheelchair on because it's this taboo topic in our society and lawsuits and blah, blah, blah. Like it's a weird territory. And so brands tend to be very reticent to take on disability, to have somebody that looks like me, lives like me in their stable of ambassadors or part of their business. For Volkswagen specifically, I'm now part of their innovation committee. Wow. Does that mean that next year I'm going to be, there's going to be accessibility everywhere? Probably not, right? Because things take a lot of time. But let's give them credit for at least starting and trying. Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of brands do not. And they didn't do it because they were sued. They didn't do it because of XYZ reason. They did it because it's the right thing to do. Let's talk about Lime Rock Park. And you said you had Dickie on the show. Right, Dickie is one of the owners of Lime Rock and the CEO of Lime Rock. Well, I get a text from Dickie one winter, and it's a picture of the concession stand that was torn apart. And I think the caption wrote something like, "You did this." And I'm going, "Oh no, I did what?" And he's like, "We're making this accessible." And it's just because I was there. Now, Jason, there was no lawsuit. I didn't ask for it. And at the end of the day, are they going to make their money back on the amount of people in wheelchairs that service that concession stand for the construction? Let's be honest, probably not. But Dickie didn't care. It's the right thing to do. And not just Dickie, everybody at Lime Rock didn't care. It's the right thing to do. Volkswagen, I don't know of any litigiousness. I'm sure there is probably somewhere because that's just what people do, unfortunately, in this world. But that's not why I was approached. That's not why I was asked to be on the innovation team, right? To give my perspective there. It's because it's the right thing to do. And because the more people that get seen like me, like Robbie, like Natalie McGloin, like Drew Ewing, the more they realize we're not there because we don't want to be. We're not there because we don't know we can be. And by bringing people like us to change the world, the ADA had a really cool saying, I think, and I think it was the ADA that said, "Not for us, without us." Don't create innovation for us without us being present, right? Because we have a certain perspective. Well, Dickie didn't know about accessibility before I was there, really. He knew, obviously, but didn't know what to do with it until I was there. Volkswagen, I'm now there. Pennzoil, like I'm moving the needle in such a cool way because they're inviting me in. And it's not me. It takes them to ask to invite me in. And everyone gives me the credit. Let's stop giving me the credit. I'm not the guy that deserves the credit. I'm the guy that happened to be there at the right time.
Right.
They're the ones that deserve the credit because they had the guts to bring me in. That's big. That needs to be celebrated.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Just a few more things.
Yeah.
Is there a piece of advice that you wish you knew maybe at the beginning of this journey?
The wheelchair journey or the racing journey?
Let's do both.
Damn it. I shouldn't have asked you that. Good response. Anything I knew. Oh, this comes off so trite, Jason, but happiness isn't easy, right? Like nothing good is easy.
Yeah.
And if you can do it on day one, then it's not worth doing.
Exactly.
Stop doing it. And again, it sounds trite. It sounds so big.
Go challenge yourself, though. Yes.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah.
If it's not worth trying, it's not worth doing. And I'm certainly not the first, certainly not the last to say that. But look, I've had certain things that came easy to me, right? I've done a couple things in my life that were fairly simple. I don't do them anymore. I mean, I still do them to a degree, but like they don't bring me happiness because they don't challenge me. Things that challenge your ethos scare you. Things that challenge your experiences scare you because you don't know what the other side looks like. Mm-hmm. Again, the failure. We're all scared to fail. But if it's so easy, stop. Right? Or you're not trying hard enough. And I don't think I do that all the time. I haven't done that all the time in my life. And I wish I said to myself, both when I was growing up in a chair, growing up, period, even before a chair, and now race car driving, I certainly say this to myself. I'm not good at it, but I can be if I try. So that's the advice I'd give myself.
With the docuseries out, the foundation's now building momentum. What's next for Torsten Gross? Besides the podium.
What's next? I mean, look, I'll be realistic, but also, challenge myself to say doing things like IMSA or TCR or Porsche Sprint Challenge. Those are levels up from where I am. I race international GT, HSR and World Racing League, those types of leagues. And they're great. They're wonderful leagues. But there's something about IMSA, there's something about TCR and Porsche Sprint Challenge, those leagues, which are just a level up. And I want to get my butt handed to me by those drivers. I want to get schooled and go, you know what? Forget podium. Like I'm very fortunate to podium a lot. I want to get destroyed. And my motto is always, I want NFL. And which is, are we allowed to curse here?
Sure. It's satellite radio.
All right, good. That's true. NFL, not fucking last, right? Like that's my goal. NFL, not fucking last. Even if that means the number one driver crashes out and I'm not last and they're last on the leaderboard, then NFL. And that to me is my how I judge what I go do. So even if I go to Porsche Sprint Challenge, if I go to IMSA, I'm certainly not going to podium. I'm not going to podium in the beginning, but that's okay because it's an experience and it's learning and I want to learn. And that's how I judge other people. If you're not learning, you're not listening. And I don't want to be part of that journey with you. I want to be part of a journey where other people are learning, other people are listening, and we all accept each other's failures. And hopefully that means IMSA or Porsche Sprint Challenge.
You said something before. You said, I don't want to be equal. I want to be first.
Yes.
Yeah, those are powerful words. What do you tell people watching, listening, who feel sidelined?
Look, we right now in our society, it's all about fighting for equality, and I get that. And there's definitely a place, but in car racing, the way we also have a T-shirt that says we're all equal on the starting line, which that's what I want. I want equality on the starting line. I want to be seen as equal, but then I want to destroy you. Right. And so when I see what other people have hesitation, when I see that they are trying to fight for something, I just say, don't stop fighting, because if it's easy, you don't deserve it. Right. Then you haven't tried. Only things you try for, you deserve. And that sounds really harsh. I don't mean that to come off as angry as that might sound, but you need to push yourself. So I would look at everybody and say, try. Confidence over courage. Courage over confidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just exactly what's on your wrist.
Yep.
It's called Just Hands for the Love of Racing on Amazon Prime, and you can also visit the Just Hands Foundation to get involved. That is justhands.org, right, Torsten? Justhands.org to learn more about the foundation. And there are plenty of lessons to learn from all of it, including listening to you talk about this. So thank you so much for being on the program. Thanks for being motivational, and thanks for not being NFL.
I appreciate that and the time as well. And yeah, it means a lot to be able to share my story. And hopefully I'm no longer part of a season, but other people are, because I was able to motivate them to do it.
Amen. Torsten, thank you for being on the program.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Thank you.